More than 33,000 people in South Carolina are behind bars, and 62% of the prison population is black. Most of those people are not eligible to vote. In 2012, the South Carolina legislature took voting rights away from state residents on parole, and today, more than 48,000 South Carolina residents in prison on parole and on probation are disenfranchised by felony or misdemeanor convictions. African Americans making up 64% of South Carolina's disenfranchised population, even though they comprise only 27% of the state's voting age population. 1 out of every 27 African American voters is disenfranchised in South Carolina, compared to 1 out of 65 South Carolina voters. Your thoughts on this, Kevin?
Let me say this, Amy. First of all, that's a problem in and of itself, that the discussion on black politics starts talking about criminal justice issues and prisons. Black voters want the same thing that white voters want. They want to be able to pay their house payments, to pay the mortgages, to pay the rent, to pay their utility bills, to pay their taxes, to educate their kids. And when you think that the whole foundation of black politics is just about talking about criminal justice and crime, well, that's playing a stereotype in and of itself. And while there are a lot of black people in jail in South Carolina, disproportionately, and we understand the effects of structural racism, we still have close to a million eligible black voters in South Carolina, and probably close to 600 to 700,000 registered voters. And when you look at the results from 2008 to 2012, and the number of people that didn't vote, that are registered to vote, that says something about the Democratic Party. That says something about someone telling them that they are waging a revolution, and it's not a revolution. If you want to talk about building a progressive movement, build a progressive movement, but do not come into South Carolina or anywhere where basically you've got the same kind of campaign that Hillary Clinton got. You got white men on the top running it, and you come into the state and all your surrogates are men. You have a program in Greenville, South Carolina with Danny Glover, and everybody on the program's a man. And those kinds of things matter. But to start out just talking about crime, just talking about police, and using Black Lives Matter talking points, well, the black community, I believe, is more sophisticated than that. And if you're running a progressive campaign, you ought to have sense enough to know that you have to talk to people and tease out the issues a whole lot better than you did. Hillary Clinton is a neoliberal Democrat. The purpose of the Jackson campaigns in '84 and '88 were a counter to Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and the rise of the DLC, the Democratic Leadership Council, which Jesse called the Democratic Leisure Class. And Bernie Sanders is supposedly running a campaign in that tradition, bringing people together, bringing coalitions of people together. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing the nuclear activists and the peace activists and the Arab American community and the labor community and the black community have a real say in defining a platform that makes some sense. Now, Bernie Sanders has done some wonderful things in his campaign. He's brought young people into the process. I hope he keeps them energized. But if the only mission is to say that you've pushed the Democratic Party to the left at the end of this process, then what have you accomplished? If we're talking about building something long-lasting and really changing the nature of politics, which means that you have to change it on the local and the state level. You have to tackle these state legislatures. You have to be prepared to tackle reapportionment and gerrymandering so that you can vote better people into office to move on to Congress so you can actually change things. But if you're not going to do that, you have to have agents of change. You can't simply be an agent of change by yourself.